few years ago, I sat across from a young woman who had just left her high-paying job in finance. She was talented, sharp, the kind of person any company would fight to hire. And yet, she told me something that stopped me in my tracks. I was successful, but I wasn't fulfilled. Every day I woke up with a sinking feeling. I had everything, except a reason. Pause for a second. How many of us have felt that way? Like we're climbing, hustling, winning even, but not sure why we started in the first place. Here's the truth. You can be good at something. You can make money doing it. You can even win awards. And still feel lost, because fulfillment doesn't come from what you do. It comes from why you do it. Core message: the power of why. Your why is your purpose. It's not a goal. It's not a product. It's not a paycheck. It's the reason you get out of bed in the morning, and more importantly, it's the reason anyone should care that you do. When you know your why, something powerful happens. You stop chasing what's next and start standing for what matters now. Let me explain. There are two kinds of motivation: push and pull. Most people push themselves through the day, through tasks, deadlines, routines. But people who know their why, they're pulled. They don't need pressure. They feel purpose. Purpose is magnetic. It draws you forward even when the path is unclear. It keeps you going when you're tired, and it reminds you who you are when the world tries to tell you otherwise. Concrete example: human connection. Think about someone who inspires you, not because of what they have, but because of what they stand for. Maybe it's a teacher who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Maybe it's a parent who worked two jobs, not because they loved either, but because you were the reason. That's why. It's not about being the best. It's about being clear. Clear on your values. Clear on your cause. Clear on the impact you want to leave behind. Call to action, reflective and uplifting. So the question isn't, what do you want to do with your life? The real question is, what cause is worth dedicating your life to? What breaks your heart? What lights you up? What would you fight for even if no one gave you credit? Start there. Because once you find your why, once you align your actions with your purpose, you become unstoppable. Obstacles don't disappear, but they lose their power. Fear doesn't vanish, but it no longer dictates your direction. Failure becomes feedback, not finality. Closing: emotional resonance, the woman I told you about earlier. She started a non-profit for children of incarcerated parents. She makes less money now, but every morning she wakes up with a fire inside her. She traded success for significance, and she told me with tears in her eyes, I may not have everything, but now I have my why, and nothing can stop me. So I'll ask you one more time, what is your why? Because when you find it, you don't need motivation. You don't need approval. You just go, and nothing. Not fear, not doubt, not even failure, nothing can stop you. Fulfillment comes from why, not what you do. Your why pulls you forward. Motivation becomes internal. Purpose creates clarity, not just direction. People follow belief, not products or titles. Obstacles lose power when you're aligned with purpose. When you find your why, you become unstoppable. Fulfillment doesn't come from a job title, a bank account, or a list of accomplishments. It comes from understanding the deeper reason behind what you do. It comes from knowing the impact you want to have, the values that drive you, and the difference you hope to make. That's your why. It's not about your tasks or your responsibilities. It's about the purpose behind them. You can be a lawyer, a teacher, an entrepreneur, or an artist, and still feel disconnected if you're doing it for reasons that don't align with your inner purpose. On the outside, things may look perfect. But on the inside, you feel stuck, burned out, or numb. That's the cost of living without your why. You're spending energy without direction, effort without emotion. Eventually, the pressure to perform becomes heavier than the passion that started it all. When you don't know your why, work becomes mechanical. You wake up and go through the motions, checking boxes and solving problems without any sense of meaning behind them. Every task becomes a grind. Every challenge feels heavier than it should. You begin to question whether it's even worth it. And the truth is, Without a why, it often isn't. But when you know your why, everything changes. Suddenly, your work becomes an extension of your purpose. The hard days still come, but they don't shake you in the same way. You can struggle, you can fail, and still feel deeply connected to what you're doing. That connection is what fuels fulfillment. It's not about whether you win or lose. It's about whether your actions reflect your beliefs. Knowing your why doesn't mean you'll always love what you do, or that every moment will be joyful. It means that even in the chaos, even in the mess, you'll feel a quiet sense of alignment. You'll know why you're there. You'll know what you're building toward. You'll be grounded, not in outcomes, but in purpose. People often confuse passion for purpose. Passion is the energy you feel. Purpose is the reason you stay. Passion fades when things get hard. Purpose keeps going. Passion is about what excites you. Purpose is about what matters. Your why is the compass that keeps you moving in the right direction when passion fades and circumstances shift. Your why is not a goal. It's not something you accomplish or chase. It's the underlying reason you do what you do. It's the purpose that makes the effort worthwhile. When you understand that reason, when it's clear and deeply personal, you don't need to be pushed. You are pulled. The difference is subtle but profound. Being pushed feels like obligation. Being pulled feels like inspiration. One takes energy, the other gives it. When you're pulled by your why, you wake up with a sense of direction. You don't need to talk yourself into action every day. You might still feel tired or uncertain or overwhelmed, but the reason behind your work gives you momentum. It's like gravity. You're being drawn towards something meaningful. You stop needing motivation because your actions are now connected to something deeper than just the task at hand. People who operate from an internal sense of purpose often look unstoppable, but they're not superhuman. They're not always confident. They don't always have perfect plans. What they do have is clarity. They know what matters to them, and that clarity gives them consistency. It's why someone can fail again and again and still show up with conviction. It's why others burn out while they burn bright. Because when you have a why, even the setbacks become part of something bigger. When motivation becomes internal, you also become more resilient. External motivation often depends on validation, likes, praise, promotions, approval. But internal motivation is immune to those variables. It's steady even when no one is watching. It's strong even when recognition doesn't come. That's how you know it's real. You're not doing it because someone expects you to. You're doing it because it aligns with who you are and what you believe. This shift changes how you face challenges. When your why is pulling you forward, obstacles feel smaller, not because they are, but because they no longer define the journey. They become part of it. You're less reactive to failure because you see it as part of the process, not the end of the story. You're less distracted by shortcuts because the destination isn't just achievement, it's alignment. The best part is that your why doesn't need to be grand or dramatic. It just needs to be honest. It could be the desire to serve others, to create beauty, to solve a problem, to protect something important, or to give people hope. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's true to you, because once you're connected to that reason, you're no longer chasing discipline, you're following direction. When you have purpose, you're not just following a path, you understand why that path matters to you. You don't just set goals. You know which goals are worth your energy and which ones are distractions. You don't chase every opportunity because you're no longer operating from fear of missing out. You're making choices from a deeper place, a place that's rooted in meaning rather than impulse. Purpose becomes a filter. It helps you decide what belongs in your life and what doesn't. Clarity is powerful because it simplifies complexity. Life is full of noise, opinions, expectations, pressures, trends. Without purpose, it's easy to get lost in all of it. You might say yes to things just to please others, or take detours because someone else says you should. You might constantly second, guess your choices, wondering if you're doing enough or going fast enough. But with purpose, the noise quiets. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What is aligned with what I believe?" That shift is what brings clarity. Clarity doesn't mean certainty. It doesn't mean you have every answer or that the road is smooth. But it does mean that even when things get hard, you still know what you're standing for. It means you can make hard decisions without losing your center. You don't need to wait for approval because you've already defined your own standard. You don't panic when plans fall apart because you're grounded in something bigger than the plan itself. You know who you are, and that knowledge becomes your compass. People often confuse being busy with being clear. They fill their calendars, chase multiple dreams, and stretch themselves across commitments. From the outside, it looks like progress, but busyness without purpose is just motion. It's exhausting, not fulfilling. You end each day drained, not because you worked hard, but because you worked without direction. Clarity brings a different kind of energy. You can still be busy, but your effort is focused. You know what you're building, and that knowledge brings peace even in the hustle. Purpose also brings clarity to your relationships. You begin to recognize who supports your growth and who drains your energy. You start having more honest conversations because you're no longer pretending or performing. You're not trying to fit into spaces that weren't meant for you. You're creating space that reflects your values. That's what clarity does. It frees you from confusion and helps you live with integrity. When your actions align with your purpose, you experience fewer regrets. You stop comparing your journey to others because you're not trying to live someone else's story. You start making decisions that reflect your truth, not someone else's expectations. And that clarity becomes contagious. People notice when someone is moving with intention, they're drawn to it, they trust it, because purpose-driven clarity has a calm confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard. This is why some of the most influential leaders in the world aren't the ones with the biggest resumes or the most impressive credentials. They're the ones who communicate what they believe so clearly that others feel it too. Their words, actions, and presence reflect a deeper commitment to a cause, not just a career. People trust them not because they have all the answers, but because their message is grounded in truth. It's the kind of truth you can feel, even if you can't explain it. Belief has a magnetic quality. When someone speaks or acts from a place of conviction, it draws people in. It resonates on a level that goes beyond logic. You might not remember the features of a product or the specifics of a title, but you remember how someone made you feel, and the feeling that lasts the longest is the one rooted in shared belief. That's what creates connection. That's what builds communities, not just customer bases. That's what turns followers into advocates and teams into movements. People are constantly searching for something to believe in, something that reflects their own hopes, values, and aspirations. When they find someone who represents those things, they don't need to be convinced. They don't need to be sold to. They already feel seen and understood. That emotional connection is more powerful than any pitch or advertisement. It's what makes someone choose one path over another, even if it's harder. It's what makes them stay through uncertainty, because they believe in the reason behind the journey. Titles and products can open doors, but belief is what keeps people walking with you through them. You can have the most advanced technology, the highest salary, or the most prestigious title. But if people don't believe in why you do what you do, they'll follow you only until someone else comes along with something shinier. Belief creates depth. It builds trust that isn't easily shaken. It allows people to feel part of something greater than themselves. Belief also inspires action. People who are moved by a message aren't just passive observers. They participate, they share, they contribute, they lead. They take ownership of the vision because it no longer belongs to just one person. It belongs to everyone who believes in it. That kind of momentum can't be bought or manufactured. It's earned through consistency, clarity, and courage. When leaders focus only on titles or products, they're often chasing external validation. But when they lead with belief, they invite others into a story. A story where everyone has a role. A story that's not just about profit or prestige, but about impact. And people want to be part of something that matters. They want to follow someone who reminds them of who they are and who they want to become. Alignment means that your actions, decisions, and goals are connected to a deeper reason. You're not just doing things to check boxes or meet expectations. You're moving with intention. You're doing the work because it matters to you, not just because it looks good or earns approval. That internal clarity creates a different kind of strength. It gives you a reason to keep going when everything else tells you to stop. Purpose doesn't make things easier. It makes them more meaningful. When you're not aligned with your purpose, obstacles feel personal. Failure becomes proof that you're not enough. Rejection feels like a dead end. You begin to question whether the struggle is even worth it. But when your actions reflect your purpose, those same obstacles take on a new shape. They still hurt. They still challenge you, but they don't shake your foundation. Because you know what you're doing this for. You know what matters most, and that gives you resilience. Purpose reframes pain. It allows you to see discomfort as part of growth rather than something to avoid. When you know why you're doing something, you stop interpreting setbacks as signs to quit. You start seeing them as part of the journey. You accept that discomfort is part of building anything meaningful. The obstacle doesn't stop you. It strengthens you, it reveals your capacity, it reminds you that what you're doing is worth the struggle. Being aligned with purpose also helps you stay focused. When things go wrong, it's easy to get distracted by fear or comparison. You might look at others and wonder why their path seems smoother. But purpose anchors you in your own lane. It reminds you that you're not here to copy someone else's story. You're here to live your own. That focus allows you to move through obstacles without losing direction. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building real progress. Another thing that happens when you're aligned with purpose is that you become more adaptable. Obstacles often require you to pivot, to try again, or to change your approach. Without purpose, change feels like failure. But with purpose, change feels like evolution. You're not attached to a specific method. You're committed to the mission, so when one door closes, you don't collapse. You find another way through. That flexibility is only possible when you're deeply connected to why you're moving in the first place. Obstacles are not just tests of skill. They're tests of alignment. They expose whether your actions are connected to a real reason or just empty ambition. If your motivation is external, the obstacle will often win. But if your motivation is internal, grounded in purpose, you'll keep going. Not because it's easy, but because it's true to you. That kind of drive doesn't burn out. It grows stronger under pressure. Alignment with purpose also attracts support. People are drawn to those who are clear and consistent. They see your commitment, and it inspires them to help, to join, or to believe. That support creates momentum. It doesn't remove the obstacle, but it gives you more strength to face it. You're no longer carrying the weight alone. You're part of something bigger. Purpose gives context to the hard moments. Without it, an obstacle feels like a sign that you're doing something wrong, that maybe you're not cut out for it. You start asking, why is this happening to me? And the doubt begins to grow. But when you're aligned with something meaningful, you don't question the struggle in the same way. You still feel the weight of it, but you also feel the reason behind it. That reason gives you the strength to stand up when you fall, to keep moving when it would be easier to quit. When you know why you're doing something, every obstacle becomes part of the process. The failure becomes feedback, the rejection becomes redirection. You stop viewing setbacks as signals to turn back, and instead start seeing them as lessons that prepare you for the next step. Your perspective shifts. Instead of resisting the challenge, you start to accept it as a necessary part of the journey. The alignment between your actions and your purpose becomes your inner foundation. It's what keeps you grounded when everything around you feels uncertain. You're not just chasing a goal for recognition or approval. You're pursuing something that matters to you on a deeper level. That kind of commitment doesn't crumble when things get hard. It holds steady. It helps you stay focused even when the path becomes unclear or the progress feels slow. Obstacles lose their grip because they no longer hold the same meaning. They don't represent failure. They don't signal that you're off track. They become reminders that what you're building is worth fighting for. When you're aligned with purpose, you stop being afraid of discomfort. You understand that growth happens in the tension, in the challenge, in the resistance. You embrace the process because the outcome isn't the only thing that matters. The journey itself is part of the mission. Purpose also gives you patience. Without it, you want results quickly. You want things to happen on your timeline. When they don't, you get frustrated or discouraged, but when you're aligned with something bigger than just a short-term outcome, you can endure the delay. You can wait, work, and trust that the effort is still meaningful, even when the reward isn't immediate. That kind of patience is only possible when you're clear on why you're doing what you're doing. Another powerful thing that happens when you're aligned with purpose is that you stop comparing your obstacles to others. You're not measuring your progress against someone else's pace. You're not wondering why things are easier for them. You're focused on your own lane, your own mission. That clarity protects your energy. It allows you to put your attention where it belongs, on the next right step, not on the distraction of comparison or doubt. Most people are taught to focus on the what job they want, what lifestyle they're chasing, what achievements they can collect. But the what alone can feel empty, especially when the work gets hard or the recognition fades. The excitement wears off quickly if the task isn't connected to something meaningful. That's why so many people feel stuck or burned out. They're moving, but not with purpose. They're achieving, but not feeling fulfilled. The difference isn't in their ability. It's in their clarity. When you find your why, every decision becomes easier to make. You stop chasing opportunities that look good on paper, but don't resonate with who you are. You stop saying yes to things that drain you just because you think you should. Your why acts like a compass. It doesn't eliminate all doubt or fear, but it gives you a direction that feels right even when it's hard. That kind of alignment gives you momentum. You're not forcing yourself to keep going. You're being pulled forward by something that matters. Obstacles no longer feel like reasons to stop. They become part of the journey, not the end of it. Setbacks lose their sting, not because they're painless, but because you're grounded in something deeper than short-term success. You know what you're building and why it's worth the effort. That kind of resolve makes you resilient. You don't quit at the first sign of resistance because you're not working for applause. You're working for meaning. There's a quiet confidence that comes with knowing your why. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to prove your worth. You show up with intention because you believe in what you're doing. That belief is powerful. People feel it. They're drawn to it. It's not about charisma or charm. It's about consistency. When your actions align with your purpose, you build trust without trying. You become someone others want to follow, not because of what you have, but because of what you represent. The challenges don't go away, but your relationship to them changes. You stop needing external motivation because your fire is internal. You wake up with direction. You endure the lows because you know they're not the whole story. You push through uncertainty because you're not driven by results alone. You're driven by mission. That shift makes you stronger, not just more successful. Finding your why doesn't mean life gets easier, but it does mean you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You become more focused, more intentional, more effective. You start living with clarity instead of confusion. You make decisions faster because you're no longer asking, "What should I do?" You're asking, "What aligns with my purpose?" That level of clarity removes a lot of noise from your life. You begin to trust yourself more. You're not swayed as easily by fear or criticism. You know that not everyone will understand your why, and that's okay. You're not here to convince everyone. You're here to stay true to what drives you. That self-trust becomes one of your greatest assets. It helps you navigate tough choices, handle setbacks, and keep going even when the outcome is uncertain. When your why becomes your foundation, you stop relying on motivation and start operating from conviction. You stop performing and start living. You become steady, not just strong. You move with purpose, not just ambition. And that's when you become unstoppable.